Welcome back, everyone. Last time we were deep in Fascicle 5 looking at all those ancient civilizations.
Yeah, some really fascinating stuff in there.
It really is. But today well, this is a total shift in gears.
Absolutely.
This time you've given us Fascicle 6 of the Knowledge Book.
Right, we're
Yeah.
going full on extraterrestrial with this one.
Yeah, we're talking about communications from beings from somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's not just like vague, messages from the beyond kind of stuff. This fascicle, it lays out some pretty specific details.
Yeah.
Dates, location,
Diagrams.
the whole 9 yards.
It's a lot to unpack.
It really is.
Well, so let's jump right in.
Okay, sounds good.
So it starts off right away with this diagram.
Okay.
And it's called the Information Transmission Diagram.
Oh, okay.
And, when I first saw this, I was like, what is going on here?
It's a little out there.
It's wild. So so picture this, a network of triangles.
Yeah.
And these triangles are connecting all the planets in our solar system.
Wow.
But here's the thing.
Oh, okay.
Every single triangle, it goes through Mars before it gets to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if Mars is like...
A relay station.
Yeah, like some kind of cosmic middleman.
A cosmic middleman. I like that. So are they saying like Mars is essential for these communications to reach us?
It really seems that way.
I mean, I know Mars has always been this kind of,
The red planet.
Yeah, the red planet full of mysteries, maybe even life.
Right. Yeah.
But to think of it as like an interplanetary communication hub, that's
It's a big jump.
it's a big jump, yeah. I mean, we're just starting to scratch the surface of what we know about Mars's magnetic fields and geology and all that.
Right. And you know what makes this even crazier is that the diagram,
Uh-huh.
it gives us a date.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah. October 22nd, 1982.
Wow. Okay, so they're being very specific here.
Yeah. Very specific. It makes you wonder, I mean, if Mars is so crucial in all of this, why do they also talk about all this stuff about magnetic power fields and negative powers needing to be cleansed?
Mm-hmm.
When the sun, Mercury, Mars, and Earth all line up.
Yeah, that's where it starts to get a little
Fuzzy.
Yeah, a little ruzzy for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're mixing astronomy
Right.
with all this, like, esoteric talk.
Yeah, it's a strange blend.
It is.
I mean, science might not really have a good explanation for negative powers, at least not yet. But
Yeah.
we do know about magnetic fields and how powerful they can be.
Yeah.
Think about solar flares and how they can mess with Earth's magnetic field.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So maybe that's what they're talking about.
Maybe it's some kind of cosmic event.
Could be.
And they're trying to put it in terms that...
We can kind of understand.
Yeah.
It's like their version of keep it simple, stupid.
Right. Exactly. It does kind of remind me of, like, energy cleansing,
Yeah.
like in different spiritual traditions.
Totally.
Like, you're clearing out all the bad vibe.
Right.
But then things get even weirder because these beings, the Supreme Assembly, they're the ones sending these messages, supposedly.
Yeah, the Supreme Assembly.
Yeah.
That name.
Yeah. They say they're going to stop sending messages for a while.
What? Why?
Well, they say it's because of some kind of, like, crisis, period.
The crisis.
Yeah, and they mention these exams and natural pressure.
Oh, boy.
And the thing is,
Okay.
this message supposedly came in 1984.
In 1984.
So I was trying to think, like, what was going on back then?
Oh, that's a good point.
Was there anything big happening globally?
Yeah, like were there any major events or anything that could be seen as this crisis?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like they're giving us a heads up.
Like a warning.
Yeah. Like, hey, things are about to get rough. Buckle up.
Wow. So what are we supposed to do? How do we prepare for this cosmic exam?
Well, according to the Fascicle, the most important thing is sincerity.
Sincerity.
Yeah, and action.
Okay, so it's not enough to just think good thoughts.
Nope. We got to actually do something.
You got to walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
They talk about working towards universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness. Okay, now that's a big one.
That's a big one. What do you think that even means?
I don't know. It's kind of like this idea that we're all connected somehow,
Yeah.
Like we're all part of something bigger.
Right.
But how do we actually achieve that? Like, what do we have to do?
Well, the Fascicle does give us some clues.
Okay, I'm all ears.
And get this.
What?
They even talk about rosaries.
Rosaries, like the Catholic prayer beads?
Yeah. But they say they can be used for more than just prayer.
Oh, really? Like what?
They say they're like tools for meditation and aligning with specific frequencies.
Frequencies. Hold on. What kind of frequencies are we talking about here? Sound waves, electromagnetic fields.
That's where it gets a little vague.
Little vague, yeah.
Doesn't really go into detail.
Oh,
But it does say that you got to be careful because if you use them wrong,
uh-oh.
yeah, it can be dangerous. Dangerous? How so?
Well, it doesn't say exactly.
Of course not.
Yeah, it's very mysterious.
So it's like they're hinting at some kind of hidden power of rosaries.
Right. It makes you wonder if other traditions have similar ideas about using objects to manipulate energy.
Yeah, like talismans or amulets or something.
Exactly.
It's a whole different way of looking at something that's usually seen as purely religious.
Right. And then they throw in this whole thing about the power of hands.
That power of hands.
Yeah. Like they can transmit energy and even heal people.
Whoa, okay, hold on. So are we talking about like Reiki or something?
Maybe. It doesn't really specify.
Of course not. But it does seem to fit with this whole energy theme.
Right. It's like they're saying, we all have this potential, but we don't know how to use it.
Right. And maybe these rosaries or even our hands are like the keys to unlocking that potential.
Exactly. It's mind-blowing.
It really is. I mean, this fascicle is just packed with one wild idea after another.
Yeah, and we're just getting started.
I know. I can't wait to see what else they throw at us.
Me too.
So last time we were talking about all this wild stuff in Fascicle 6.
Yeah, rosaries, hands, Mars.
Right. And then right at the end...
The cliffhanger.
Yes. The Nova K supervision ship from Sirius.
Sirius. I mean, that's the dog star.
Yep. The brightest star in the sky.
Wow. It's like they're pulling out all the stops with this one.
They really are. And you know, Sirius has always been this kind of symbol...
Of mystery.
Mystery, yeah, and like spiritual power.
Right. Like in ancient cultures and stuff.
Exactly. But to actually have a ship mentioned.
A ship.
Yeah. With a name.
It's like they're getting specific.
Yeah, very specific. So it makes you wonder, what do these Syrians want?
Right. Like, what's their message?
Well, it's interesting because in some ways they're kind of echoing what the Supreme Assembly was saying.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they both talk about this idea of personal responsibility.
Okay, so it's not enough to just sit back and, receive these messages.
Right. It's like they're saying, okay, we've given you this knowledge. Now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, like it's a call to action.
Exactly. They want us to use this information to work towards this golden age.
The golden age, right? But how? I mean, it's all very cryptic.
It is, yeah. The fascicle doesn't really give us a step-by-step guide or anything.
Right. It's like they're dropping hints and expecting us to figure it out.
Yeah, and one of the biggest hints they keep giving is about sincerity.
Sincerity.
Yeah, like it's not enough to just go through the motions.
Right. It's got to be genuine.
Exactly. Your actions have to be aligned with your intentions.
Walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Exactly.
But that's hard. I mean, how do we know if we're being sincere? How do we know if we're on the right track?
Well, they do mention these exams and natural pressure.
Right. The cosmic pop quiz.
Yeah. But what do those actually look like in real life?
That's what I want to know.
It's tricky. Maybe it's not about passing or failing in the traditional sense.
Right. Maybe it's more about how we respond to things.
Yeah, like when you face a challenge or you have an opportunity, do you act from a place of fear or do you choose love and understanding?
That's a good way to look at it.
No.
It's like a constant self-assessment.
Right, exactly.
But what about this natural pressure thing? What do you think they mean by that?
I don't know. It's a good question. It could be external pressure, like what's happening in the world, like global events or societal shifts.
Right. Things that are out of our control.
Yeah. Or it could be internal pressure, like the pressure we put on ourselves to grow and evolve.
Right. Like the inner drive to become better.
Exactly.
So it's like this constant push and pull between the outer world and our inner world.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
And speaking of inner worlds, they keep bringing up this universal consciousness idea.
Right. Universal consciousness.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one.
It's a big one for sure.
It is. I mean, does that mean we all become like one giant hive mind or something?
I don't think so. I think it's more about recognizing that we're all connected somehow. Yeah.
Like our thoughts and emotions and actions, they all have an impact on the world around us.
Like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's less about losing our individuality and more about expanding our awareness to include the whole...
Right. It's like shifting from a me mentality to a we mentality.
Exactly.
But that's a huge responsibility.
It is.
If we're all connected like that, it's like we have to be extra careful about what we do and say.
I think that's where the idea of service comes in.
Service.
Yeah, like using our abilities and resources to help others to make the world a better place.
So it's not just about personal enlightenment,
Right. It's about taking that expanded awareness and putting it into action.
making a difference.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're all connected. We're supposed to be working towards this golden age, but we've got all these exams and natural pressure to deal with.
Right, and it can feel pretty overwhelming.
It can. It's like, how are we supposed to handle all of this?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me more. The Fascicle hints that we're not alone in this.
Not alone. Like, what? Are there other beings out there helping us?
That's what they seem to be suggesting.
Whoa.
Yeah. They talk about receiving guidance and support from beings in other dimensions.
The dimension, so like spirit guides or something.
Maybe. It doesn't really specify.
But of course not. But how do we even know if we're getting this guidance?
Well, they talk about telepathic perception and developing our intuition.
Intuition, so like that gut feeling you get.
Yeah. Maybe it's through dreams or synchronicities or just that inner voice that tells you what's right.
But how do we know it's not just our own subconscious or wishful thinking?
That's where discernment comes in.
Discernment.
Yeah, like being able to distinguish between what's coming from within and what's coming from outside.
Right, right.
And they talk about purification.
Purification.
Yeah, like cleansing our thoughts and emotions, getting rid of negative patterns.
So it's like clearing out the static so we can tune into the right frequency.
Exact.
But how do we do that?
Well, it could be through meditation, spending time in nature, conscious eating acts of kindness, anything that helps you feel more connected and aligned.
It's like a whole life approach.
Right. And the idea is that as we purify ourselves, we become more sensitive to those subtle signs and nudges from the universe.
Like we're opening ourselves up to guidance.
Exactly.
But what about people who aren't at that level yet? Like what about those who are still struggling with their shadows?
Well, the fascicle reminds us that this is a process.
Right. It's not like a switch you flip on.
Exactly. We're all at different stages of this journey.
So even if we're not consciously seeking guidance, we're still being nudged along the way.
That's what they seem to be saying.
It's kind of comforting to know that.
It is.
Like even if we mess up, we're still being looked after.
Yeah, like there's a cosmic safety net.
Exactly. But this whole thing about selection and purification, that sounds a bit intense.
It does, yeah.
I mean, are some people going to be left behind?
That's a good question, and the fascicle isn't very clear on that.
Of course not.
Yeah, they're very good at being vague.
They are?
But I don't think it's necessarily about being left behind.
Right.
Maybe it's more about choosing different paths.
Based on our level of awareness.
Exactly. Like some people might not be ready for this shift in consciousness.
So it's not like a punishment.
Right. It's more like a natural consequence of the choices we make.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about these challenges we're supposed to face? What are those going to look like?
Again, they don't give specifics.
Shocker.
I know, right? But they do talk about natural pressure and exams that will test us.
So it's not going to be easy.
It doesn't sound like it, no.
We're going to have to face some tough stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it.
But at least we're not alone.
Right, that's the important thing to remember. We have support even when we can't see it.
And we have each other.
Exact.
It's like we're all in this together.
We are.
And that brings us back to this whole idea of merging science and spirituality.
Yes, that's a big one.
It is. It's like they're saying we need both logic and intuition to navigate this crazy world.
You're right. It's not about choosing one over the other.
It's about finding that balance.
Exactly. Like science can help us understand the physical world.
Right.
And spirituality can help us understand the inner world.
So it's like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, and when we bring those two sides together...
We get the whole picture.
Exactly.
But what about people who are skeptical about all this spiritual stuff?
Well, I think even if you're not sure about all of this, there's still something valuable here.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, it encourages us to be curious, to question our assumptions, to explore different perspectives.
To keep an open mind.
Exactly.
So even if we don't believe everything in the fascicle,
Right.
we could still learn from it.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe we'll be surprised by what we discover.
You never know.
Okay, so we've talked about all this crazy stuff.
We have. It's been a wild ride.
And now we're back to 1999.
The year of mystery.
The year of mystery. So what's the final word on this pivotal year? All right, so 1999, what's the deal with this year?
Well, it's almost like they're saying it was a turning point, but not in a way we could really see.
Like a behind-the-scenes kind of shift?
Exactly. Remember all that talk about higher dimensions? It's as if something shifted on a cosmic level.
But 1999 was a pretty big year here on Earth, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, all that Y2K stuff.
Yeah, the whole world was freaking out about computers crashing.
It was a lot of anxiety.
Definitely. And all focused on that one year.
Do you think maybe people were picking up on something real? Like some kind of cosmic energy shift?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Maybe it was both.
Could be,
Like
yeah.
a mix of real cosmic energy and our own fears.
Right, like we projected all our anxieties onto that date.
And maybe that amplified whatever was already happening.
Possibly.
But even if we couldn't fully grasp it, the Fascicle seems to suggest that something did change.
Something shifted, yeah.
And it's interesting because the Nova K supervision ship messages, right, from Sirius, they
Mhm.
seem to offer a lot of reassurance.
Yeah, like they're saying, hey, we're here with you through all of this.
We're not alone.
Exactly.
Speaking of Sirius, what do we actually know about it from like a scientific standpoint?
Well, it's actually a binary star system.
So two-star,
Two stars orbiting each other,
wow.
and it's relatively close to Earth, which is why it's so bright.
That's why we can see it so clearly.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we haven't found any aliens there yet,
Not yet.
but it's not crazy to think that there could be planets around those stars.
Right, and who knows what kind of life might exist on those planets.
It could be way more advanced than us.
It's possible, yeah.
It's mind-blowing to think about.
It really is.
But these messages aren't just about far-off star systems and higher dimensions, are they?
No, they definitely have a practical side, too.
They keep talking about this golden age.
Right, and how we need to create it.
It's like they're giving us a blueprint, but it's not very detailed.
No, it's more like they're giving us the tools and saying, okay, now go build something amazing.
But where do we even start?
Well, I think the fascicle gives us some clues.
Like what?
Well, they talk a lot about sincerity.
Right, aligning our actions with our hearts.
Exactly. And interconnectedness.
Remembering that we're all connected.
Yeah, and that our choices affect everyone and everything.
And they also emphasize merging science and spirituality.
Right, using both logic and intuition to solve problems and make decisions.
So it's not about choosing one over the other.
No, it's about finding a way to integrate them.
To see the whole picture.
Exactly.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, yeah.
But I think the main message is hopeful.
Oh, absolutely.
They're basically saying that we have the power to create a better future
We do.
if we can just remember to be sincere,
Mm.
to act with compassion, and to use all the tools at our disposal.
Well said.
It's inspiring, but it's also a lot of responsibility.
It is, yeah.
But I think it's a challenge worth taking on. So what do you say we put this knowledge into practice?
Sounds good to me.
All right, listeners. That's it for our deep dive into Fascicle 6.
Wow, that was a wild one.
It really was. But I hope you learned something new and maybe even feel a little bit more empowered to create the future you want to see.
That's what it's all about.
Exactly. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep